Airrange is a collaboration layer that upgrades Excel to Spreadsheets 3.0. With granular sharing and app interfaces, you can only share the relevant data in your workbook, create powerful apps from Excel models or calculations, and manage data entry workflows all in one place. Fully integrated with Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams, making it easy to share with your whole team. Today, we have Stefan, CEO and founder of Airrange, who will talk you through how to upgrade Excel to Spreadsheet 3.0. He's a seasoned Excel, no-code, and Microsoft expert. He has built several companies and was selected as a member of the Microsoft ISV Partner Advisory Council in 2017. At Airrange, he combines his passion for Excel models and dashboard with no-code and the collaboration demands of today's organizations.
Thanks, Elena, for the introduction. Hi, I'm Stefan, and at Airrange, it's all about granular sharing, web apps, and collaboration. I would like to start with a short overview based on slides, but then dig deep into the product for the rest of the session. So let me look. Wonderful. So let's start with the granular sharing functionality. Airrange is a layer on top of Microsoft 365. That means we are doing everything using the Microsoft Graph API, and we can access the Excel engine through this API. And in this example, you can see we can select areas inside your workbook and send it out to your users as just the selected areas without all the other stuff inside your workbook. Think of it like a window on top of your workbook. That means it's fully functional. That means you have all the calculations still work, even if there are cell references out there. So this example, you can see a data request where someone should type in some data, and the blue ones, perhaps you can see it, are the results of these entries. But we will do something like that together in a few minutes. If you want to change table data, that means record-based data, you can put usability layers on top of that using Airrange. But it's still always connected to your workbook table. You can add Kanban views, pivots, calendars, checklists, whatever. We will do one also together. In the end, it's a really early preview, so it's I think it reminds you of Scroll. It's an app layer for calculations. That means if you have a model with input and output variables, you can link editors like sliders, buttons, or your charts to these cells and build rich applications for your sales team, for example. Oops. Airrange is completely integrated into Microsoft 365. That means we are 100% citizen. That means everything you do with Airrange is and stays inside your organization. It means your workbook is in OneDrive or in SharePoint, and it will be there. We will not move it to a public cloud or something like that. Your workbook still can be connected to Power Automate with triggers. You can do everything. So we're just another user going through your workbook. Okay, let's start. Let me show you some examples. Why granular sharing? So Teams is a good example. So this looks a little bit sad, but here we have some links to applications. But let me start with the files area. Normally, we would share your workbooks with others as a full workbook. And this is, in my opinion, not a good idea. So I don't like people in workbook. They see they overwrite my formulas. They see all the sensitive stuff, the salaries of all the other guys, and so on. So I love to work in my workbook and need something to communicate with others, give them the assets from my workbooks that they really need. And this is exactly what we do at Airrange. If you look at this at these app icons. So these are all assets from my workbooks that I've shared in the team or that was shared with me personally. And if you just go through that, this is a data entry workflow where someone just sent me a snippet of his full workbook. So it's much easier to understand. So, because normally workbooks are huge and there's only one guy in a company who understands this thing. So now I get a snippet that's very easy to understand. I have my data like, okay, there's a deadline on top of it. The actual status system found it. I've opened it. So that's a good information. And now I can work on this. But we'll jump to this later because we built exactly this scenario. Of course, you can also build applications. Here in this scenario, it's a calculation app. That means I'm sharing workbook stuff with my salespeople, and they have no chance overwriting my formula. They have no chance getting the wrong version and so on. It's just a link. They can share it, and it's working with all these updates. And the chart is just the chart for my workbook. I hope you get the idea. So let's jump in with the first example. This is a granular sharing example. As I told you, Airrange is a 100% citizen in the Microsoft 365 environment. If you, I prepared here an Excel, and I will jump over to this, but you can run Airrange through our website or just using your Office. Here's Airrange. I'm running it. And now I'm logged in with my user account. You can see this is my Microsoft user account that I'm using. That's, of course, I can access my OneDrive, my SharePoint, my Excel history. This is the power of the graph. For this example, it's, of course, easier. I've put out a favorite here for this demo day. And if you look at this, I put it on a full screen. What happened now? So we opened the workbook, and the system instantly creates an inventory for you. That means every worksheet, all the tables, all cell values. Cell values are names of just one cell, all the other named ranges, all your charts. It means we build an inventory, and then we let you share the portion that you would like to share with others. You can explain stuff. That means we have a documentation a layer inside where you can explain what's this workbook about and so on. In my example, let me show you the others, the cost sheet. So in this cost sheet, you can see I have all my salaries here. So this is not a good idea, sharing this with everyone else. On the other side, I have here a portion called other costs that I would like people to add. And I've defined a named range here. So everything we do in Airrange is we're storing inside this inside your workbook. It means if you define an area in Airrange, you get a named range that you can handle. That means you can create it in Excel or you can create it in Airrange. So let's go over to Airrange and open this one. So of course we have this named range here, other costs. And here's exactly this portion. We pimped it a little bit. That means we've added here some documentation about that. This is a rich text editor. You can add videos, images, pages of text if you need to. And you can also define editable areas in the selected range. That means I don't want this guy to change the captions, but he needs them, of course, to enter his data. That's why I simply select an area that I would like to be editable and press here and done. The special thing about these ranges is, and let me show it to you with this example. I changed the value here now to 5,000. The system will calculate. This one is easy because it's just this area here. But if you look at this guy, he has the J61. This is not part of this range. This range is only 500 cells. It means the system will work even if the cell references are outside of this range. That means, imagine it as a window. It means full power of your workbook. If this change triggers some ugly calculations on tab 22, it will still work. If I want now to share this, sorry, I forgot the change tracking. We are tracking all the changes of every element, and here you can see I have all the changes here. Here I've done this change from this to that with a comment, so everything is under control. If I want to reverse this, simply one click, it's back. Now I want to change this this range with someone else. Every item, if it's a chart, if it's a table, has this sharing functionality. I can say, okay, other costs for January. Oh, my keyboard is not so good, actually. I can set a deadline next month. Should it be editable or only read-only? Team members, public, or individual people? Let's put me in. So I need to do my other keyboard and send it by mail. So of course you see that there was a notification. I was invited. And if I now click on shared with me, I see the costs for January 22. So this is part of a data entry request. So someone built a work for me, send it to me. I can see the sharing information. Okay, should do this until Friday. And now I will do the change for January. That is 2,500. And this is 800. Now I'm fine, done. This is running in a session. That means multiple people could change the data without disturbing each other. Only if I click on the submit, January is ready. That's my keyboard. Wow. I can set the status. So now the status is done and submit the changes. So I'm done. I've never even touched Excel. If I go back to the workbook, now I have the head of the owner. I can now see 100 changes. What happened? Someone has done some changes, and it was 47 seconds ago. It was Stefan, and he done this change with this comment. That means we can share stuff and always track what's happening with our data, what happened, we can revert it, and so on. If you look at this tree here, perhaps you realize a workbook for us is a tree structure. It means we can see every element as a tree. You see the worksheets, the named ranges. Of course, we can also open charts. Here I've explained a chart in detail. And now let's open a table. A table, let me switch to my demo here. A table you all know this, a table is a record set element. Here you can see I have the employee information, I have some long text, I have a URL of an image. And let's open this in Airrange. So let's jump to tables. Now the system asks me, hey, it's not a good idea to share a database as just rows and columns. So people overwrite formulas, people get the wrong column, and so on. Why not do a user interface that everyone can handle? And we could just start with a grid. And we can train the system, say, okay, I want to have a highlighted field. I want to have a tag field, this is perhaps the stage. We have perhaps some date fields. Well, the image field here at the end means you can build a really good looking application out of that. And this one has also a detailed dialog. And of course, you can change data, write it back, change tracking, same story. But let's build a Kanban. The Kanban cannot be viewed because the system needs some information. The system needs a title information and a column field. So wonderful. You can, of course, rearrange all the stuff. And now let's add some additional functionality, perhaps a description field. So this is still your workbook table. let's do the image thing. So this looks good. Now let's go to the preview. And if you send this instead of a cell range, the people can drag and drop the functionality, open a detailed dialog, and work on that. And perhaps you've noticed here, they can do changes if you want them to. To be able to share this, we need to create a view. That's Kanban for devs, and create it. So we don't care about the look and feel, if it's a range, if it's a table, if it's a calendar, whatever. Now I'm here, and now I can change share it, of course, this with all my team members. You can add an optional password to it if you want to. Wonderful. If you look at the tree view, you can see all the other things. So I had these tables. And if you go here, you can see all the views that I've built based on this table. So here you have a pivot chart that you can share with people. They can still rearrange everything without disturbing your data. If you go through the calendar, you can, of course, build a calendar view with a weekday view. And of course, if you allow it, this thing is editable, and you can write this data back to your workbook without even touching your workbook. Of course, a card view, to-do lists, and so on. Now let's have a look at the calculations. Calculations is really early preview with a few rough edges inside, but it's fascinating technology. That means if I go to my named ranges here, and I have a little calculator where I have the monthly amount of savings. I have some formulas doing the interest and the compound interest. It means you can, of course, you could send a calculator like this out, but it's not a good idea. And that's why we have the calculation engine, because all Airrange wants to do is get your assets from your workbook and let it share it to all the others. So you could create a calculation just by simply selecting elements from the toolbox and then connect them to your cells. So I think I have a nice example here. This is the monthly savings. And this is a calculation that runs with a live chart, and you can click here on Add, and perhaps add an action button. We want to give customers or our users the possibility to throw their calculations into a CRM system or something like that. So I've added a calculation or action button, and now you could simply add an endpoint URL here from Power Automate, and we would send this to the backend. Of course, doing this one, simply select the cells where this editor belongs to. It's relatively easy to use. In the end, what Airrange is doing is we take these assets and we let them share you. But for me, I have this dashboard here. For me, I'm consuming Excel data a different way. So normally in the past, I visited my 5 top workbooks every day and looked at the numbers, what's inside. At Airrange, I'm just grabbing the information that I'm interested in. That means here I have cell values. It's always actual. This is a real connection to your workbook. I've grabbed most important charts. Here you can see this is a chart from finance plan. This is a chart from demo data. That means we will consume data in a different way. It's not based on silos where I need to go through the whole workbook. No, the workbook owner, they define what's important for us, for others, and they can share that kind of information with their people. And to share something like that inside Teams, it's very, very easy. Let me go here. And I have perhaps this compound interest calculator. If I want to share this with someone else, it's just this click. It's already shared, and it's you can see here this link only works inside your company. So it's secure, where we're checking the user needs to log in. We're checking the tenant if it's the same. But inside these people, you can share it by a barcode or whatever. If you want to push this to a Teams channel, it's very easy. You simply have to select your team, and then the channel, perhaps the test message channel, you can share it as a message or as a tab. Let's do this as a tab. Now it's done. And if you then jump to your Teams, where's my Teams? Here. If you jump to your Teams, you will have hopefully a new one. No, it's not. Oh, what was that? Don't know if it just worked. And so you can add that kind of information to your Teams channel. For your salespeople, this is very powerful because they can manage the scenarios. They can save it. They can send a scenario to an end customer, and so on. So this is what we're doing at Airrange. It means we let you select all the important areas inside your workbooks and share it with others. In about 4 weeks, we will have the complete integration of Airrange. That means there's no external web client needed for that. So you simply open it into your Teams session with single sign-on, and then you can produce content for your users from inside the Teams environment. So the system is in open beta right now. It's completely free to use. Please go to our website and check it out. Try it with your data. Report bugs. Give us ideas about functionality that's missing. Give it a try. So let's do Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I can see this looks pretty slick. How big is your developer team? So right now we are 3 people in development. So, but in my last life, I founded a company called OpenSApp, and we built applications-based, native applications for mobile based on Excel stuff. That means we're in the space for 5-6 years. That's why we knew what to do. Do you offer support, implementation, consulting services? Of course, we're in a beta scenario. So if you need help, we are happy to help you and get your ideas, your use cases, and on. We're just a very young company. This is exactly what we want to do. Can you share specific tabs to specific users? Yes, every share that you do can be shared with others. That means you can select this area with user 1, this area with user 2, or with a group. That means a Teams group or public. We don't care. So I think I have nothing right now. Does Airrange offer an OEM white label? This is an interesting one. So open to talk. So just direct mail me, and let's talk about the use case. But why not? So we have 5 minutes left. Can you give me some specific use cases for the granular share thing? Yes, of course. My last company was a CEO, and I had one finance plan. And in this finance plan, we had all the salaries, we had the run rate of our venture financing, And to be honest, I don't want a normal sales guy look at this data, because that's why it's so important that you just select the areas and give it to them. I cannot count how often people overwritten my formulas with actual values, and this is really hard to find. That's why having control, giving that the portion that they need, is for me the silver bullet. But of course, with systems like Teams, I think sharing a full workbook where we have 10, 20 different views on data, that's not going to work anymore, because there's only one guy who understands this workbook, and for everyone else is a guest who is where there's just too much information in it. And then getting your data separated into easy packages and share these packages, I think this solves a lot of problems when these packages are still connected to your workbook. Learning materials are available. Sorry, no. We're adding articles, but actually we have a live chat, and if you get into problems, we try to be there and help you with everything. Do you support ODBC? To be honest, we don't care about something like that, because this is your workbook. It's your workbook that's inside your OneDrive or SharePoint. And every connection that you do, we're just another user. So if you need to look at Airrange, it's like if another user goes to your workbook, opens it, and does changes. So we're just one other guest. So you can this thing can be connected to Power Automate, Power BI. We don't care. We're part of the ecosystem. Do you support also Airtable? Not right now, but technically, and I think here in the Excel community, it's all a little bit technically. Technically, we are only talking to APIs. That means we're talking to API of the Excel. Of course, we can also grab data from our Dynamics, because there's an API for that. So if you have an API for the Airtable, that's relatively easy to do. But to be honest, 800 million Excel users, 270 million Teams users with Office 365. Actually, this is fine. Don't want contributors to work also in Excel, Microsoft Teams. Why do you have your own interface? Own interface, this is a web interface, and the thing Microsoft works is that they embed your interface into their system. That means if you ever have a Teams environment here, this is just a container for an iframe for an existing web interface. And that's why it's very easy for us to do the same application as a standalone web interface and the Teams interface. Of course, we also have an Electron version that you can install on your desktop. So it's just state-of-the-art technology. Okay, I think we have 2 minutes left, and then Elena will kick us out. Do you plan to expose API? This is we thought about that. So it's just about the use case. So please directly contact me, and let's talk about that. So, but this is of course something that's very interesting for us. Thanks a lot. And bye. And come to our website and try it.